But the theory that I want to run by you is actually quite crazy. And the theory is that, Leo's character in the movie, Jack, apparently Jack is a time traveler and he comes from the future.
No way.
Because apparently there are some inaccuracies in some of the things that he shares with Rose about his life experience that didn't even exist in 1912. They only came to existence years later, so that was a little bit weird. Also related to his style, his hairstyle, the clothes he wears. It doesn't really look like he is a young man in the early 1900s. He doesn't behave like the typical 1900s young man. Do you remember that scene around the beginning of the movie? It doesn't happen too late in the movie. It's actually early. Remember that scene? The ship is already sailed. It's already in the ocean. Mm-hmm. And Rose tries to jump off the ship. She tries to kill herself. Do you remember that scene?
Oh, really? Was it like that?
Yeah, early in the movie. She comes from the elite, right? The rich families and
I remember she was unhappy.
Exactly.
And she didn't want that marriage, right?
Yeah, she was engaged to this horrible man. Her mother pretty much controlled her life, so she felt stuck, like she didn't have any way out. So there is this moment in the movie where she contemplates actually jumping off the ship and killing herself. That's the moment actually when Jack appears and they meet for the first time. And then Jack talks to her a little bit and convinces her not to do it. That could be like the first mission that Jack, the time traveler, had. It was like a two-purpose thing. He had to go back in time, get on the ship first to save Rose, and then later to ensure actually that the ship would sink. I know it's kind of crazy, but hear me out here, okay?
Oh my God, sounds crazy.
Imagine if Jack hadn't been there and Rose had actually jumped off the ship. She would have died. Since she was from an important family, for sure, the ship would try to do a little search rescue. Maybe slow down a little bit to see if they could find her body on the ocean, or even go back, turn around and go back to see if they could find her body there. That alone would have been enough to slow down the ship, to delay the meeting with the iceberg. And very likely, if that had happened, Rose would have died and the ship would have been okay. It wouldn't have hit the iceberg. But then that's part of the theory. And the theory is actually that Leo, or Jack, has to ensure that the ship crashes and sinks, because look at how crazy this is, right? Even though it was a tragic accident that happened, 1,500 people lost their lives that night. Actually, that was a way to prevent millions of people to die in World War I a few years later. I'm not gonna get into the details here. So for you guys out there who are watching us or listening to us, actually there is a nice video on YouTube where this fan really breaks this theory down in detail. He gives a lot of data and numbers. So if you guys are interested in really checking it out fully, we're gonna leave the link to the videos in the show notes if you are on Apple or Spotify. And here on YouTube, I'm gonna leave the link in the description of the video, but do check it out.
And he also said that his mission is to ensure that the ship sinks, right? The verb ensure.
I personally love that word because it's another way to say to make sure something happens. You are sure, or you make sure something happens. But I love that word because simply by using the prefix "in" and you add it to the word sure, in one word, you already communicate what you would communicate in two words. Instead of saying make sure, two words, with just one word, you can say the same thing. You ensure something will or will not happen. Global citizens, a quick interruption. Isn't it frustrating when you learn a new word or expression, but when it's time to actually use it in real life, in a real conversation, you totally forget the word? I know it can be quite frustrating. That's exactly why we created the RealLife English app, because we believe that the best way for you to solve this problem is by, as soon as you learn a new word or expression, to use it in real life conversations. But then there is the question, how do you find people to practice your speaking skills with? Well, you can find people like that, learners like you, on the RealLife English app. With the app, you can connect to anybody, anywhere in the world, to have a short 4 to 8 minute conversation in English to practice your speaking skills. Also, you can listen to our RealLife English podcast, and For the week's episode, you get access to a digital transcript and a few flashcards to help you memorize the words from the episode much faster. We have tons of users using the app. They are really happy about it, and I really encourage you to try it for yourself. The link to the app will be in the description of the video, also in the show notes. It's free to download and try, and I'm sure you will love it. But now let's go to a testimonial. Let's check out a testimonial from one of our app users.
The testimonial comes from Iman Ismail, and they write, I recently had the opportunity to find this amazing channel that left a lasting impression. Not only did it excel in teaching English, but it also seamlessly integrated valuable life lessons into the learning experience. The combination of language skills and life wisdom was truly remarkable, making the app a standout choice for anyone on a learning journey. Kudos to the creators for their excellent work.
Yeah, thank you so much for the wonderful review, and dear followers, make sure you download the Real Life English app just like this user. You will love it.
The only movie which made me think of, these theories, or maybe it wasn't like that as they showed, or maybe there is some hidden meaning, or maybe they didn't say everything, but you should come to the realization of it yourself, like a puzzle. So the only movie like that was The Matrix. So you remember when Morpheus opens the truth, or offers the truth for Neo, showing him or offering him those two pills. Yeah, to stay in a dream, to stay in illusion, or to wake up into a real world. Neo chooses the real world. And we see how he gets unplugged and he wakes up. But actually, there are in the movie a couple of scenes that make you doubt, is that real world really real? Or is it another layer to the Matrix?
Oh my. The first one, following the story, the plot of the first one is really straightforward, I think. It's easy to understand, actually. But I remember that things got really convoluted in the second movie, and especially the third movie, for me to understand some things about the story, especially the third now that I think about it.
If you remember this character, the architect, and their conversation with Neo when they try to actually come to an agreement to make peace between humans and machines. And the architect actually mentions that this will be the 6th time they destroy that real world, right? And as we see, he's actually doesn't mind having that second world, like real world. If they are so okay with that, maybe it shows that it's just like their plan. If we come back to that conversation, actually, he tells Neo about the very first Matrix that they had to destroy because it was utopia. It was too ideal. People couldn't believe it was real because it was too ideal. So they came to this fact that people need free will. They always need to have a choice. So they offered them a choice, right? In the face of Morpheus, he offered Neo the choice whether to stay in the Matrix or to go into the real world. In that way, they solved this problem with people who doubt the reality of Matrix. They gave them the choice to wake up into the real world, but that's not that real.
All right. I do want to ask about a couple of nice expressions you use there. First of all, you use the word utopia. What's that, utopia?
That means the ideal world, the ideal world. So there is an antonym, dystopia.
Okay. But in both cases, utopia and dystopia, these are fictional words. They don't really exist, right?
Yeah, you could say so.
I believe so, yeah. It's it's a reality that is not the current reality as we live in. It's an imaginary reality. There's the ideal one and the not so ideal one, but yeah, they are fictional. And Ksenia, you also said free will. I love that expression. What is a person's free will?
It's your freedom to choose. Yeah, your right to choose. You are free to choose for yourself. So free will. Will in this case is your desire.
I remember now the ending of the third Matrix movie. There is this thing where everything is this scene where everything is destroyed at the end, and then things kind of come back. to its original state. And then we see both the architect and the oracle meeting and talking to each other, something like, oh, I mean, is it over, or how long is it going to last? Something like that. So maybe it was all a game that both of them were playing. So they might be actually in this higher reality on top of everything else. Yeah, so maybe that's the answer. Just lighting up a little bit here, Ksenia, because, we've talked about Titanic, which is kind of a tragedy that really happened, and The Matrix, which is this dystopian, utopian, crazy thing as well. Talking about animations a little bit, I just remember that I saw also about Frozen. There's theory that says that the sisters, the Frozen sisters, Elsa and Anna, are not really sisters.
I do not accept that. They are sisters, but
they look quite different, don't they?
Sell it.
We just said, right? They look quite different.
Well, yeah, they look different, yeah.
But look, I mean, very quickly here, just to riff on this theory, guys, we're gonna link all the videos in the show notes so that you can watch these theories and learn more about them in detail, okay? But apparently the theory goes that actually Rapunzel's Tangled is Elsa's sister. Look, first of all, I didn't know this, but they are the only two princesses in the Disney universe that have magical powers.
That's true.
And second, apparently the stories, Tangled and Frozen, they happen around the same time and around the same region. So the castles there, they are close to each other actually. It's like the same, they are kind of neighboring castles. So I don't know, did you see Tangled?
I've watched all Disney princess movies because I have a daughter.
Nice. I believe there is this scene, maybe at the beginning of Tangled, where the witch or the villain there, she discovers that Rapunzel has healing powers. So she kidnaps or abducts Rapunzel and locks her in this tower. She doesn't know that her sister, Elsa, also has powers. So, their parents, Rapunzel's parents and supposedly Elsa's parents, send her away to the neighboring kingdom, the Frozen kingdom. So Elsa and Anna's parents, they actually take Elsa and raise her as their child, in order to protect, her from being abducted just like Rapunzel.
Okay, that's like difficult to digest.
You see? But do watch the video where the theory is laid out in more detail. I think you're going to like that.
So again, you offered to talk about animation, right? So it's about the Lion King movie. What is interesting, I kind of didn't notice it when I was watching it myself and then with Mira. So the thing is, remember Mufasa and his brother Scar. So the brother is the villain in this story. And I've always thought that the way creators portrayed Scar was on purpose because he had this dark mane compared to Mufasa, who has a light mane.
By the way, sorry, what is a mane?
It's hair, that big hair lions have. It's called mane. And I've always thought that this is such an artistic tool to show the villainous part of it, right? So he's dark, he's menacing. But actually, in real wildlife of lions, there are lions with darker mane, and it's actually a sign of that lion has better chances to become the leader of the pride and become like the king, because darker hair, darker mane is the sign of higher level of testosterone in lion males. And that means they are more aggressive, they are more capable of protecting the pride, protecting the lioness and the cubs. So in wildlife, the king would probably be Scar, not Mufasa, because of that interesting characteristic feature.
Wow, interesting. So lions with darker manes, they are physically superior. I want to go back a little bit, Ksenia, because you used a couple of nice words when talking about Scar. I loved it when you said villainous, to show his villainous nature, because villainous is the adjective for villain, the noun, right?
Yeah.
And you also use the word menacing. What does that mean, menacing?
Menacing is threatening. If something is a menace, it's a threat.
But you see, I mean, these are all kind of crazy, wacky theories, but it's fun to talk about them and because they play with your imagination as well, and you imagine maybe an alternative to those movies that you maybe had never thought about. So, it's fun to, let's say, diverge into these crazy theories. I'm sorry if I ruined your, perception of the system. But yeah, it's just a theory, okay? Aw, yeah, global citizens. I just want to tell you, in case you don't know, that this lesson was taken from the Real Life English podcast. However, it was just a clip from the full episode. If you want to access the full lesson and learn even more with us, make sure you download the Real Life app. See you there!